Hi and welcome to Study Room. I am Prataksha, your chemistry teacher, and today I'll be discussing with you another interesting chapter of chemistry, pollution of air and water. In this chapter, there are certain concepts that you're already familiar with. I have been discussing these concepts with you in the previous chapters. These are greenhouse effect, okay, and acid rain. But in this chapter, I'll be delving deep into these concepts, and also I'll be discussing the major pollutants of air and how the measures that we can take to curb air pollution. Also, we'll be having a look at water pollution. We'll be looking at the major causes and the major pollutants of water, and also that the steps that we can take to get rid of it to curb water pollution. So let's get started with the chapter. Firstly, we'll be discussing about the composition of air. We already know that air has 78% of nitrogen. Nitrogen is present in a vast quantity. Next to nitrogen, we have oxygen that is present in 21%, and the rest 1% consists of other gases such as argon, carbon dioxide, helium, etc. Okay, there are also the presence of gases such as methane, ozone, and water vapor. They are present in small quantity, and all of these gases, they fall under the 1%. Now, don't confuse this. Don't confuse the lesser quantity of all these gases. They are present there in the atmosphere 1%, but an increase in the amount of these gases have been playing an havoc on Earth. We'll be learning all about it. But for now, you know that air is a mixture of gases, and the gas that is present in the highest amount and the highest quantity, that is nitrogen, that is present in 78% quantity. Next to nitrogen, we have oxygen that is present in 21%, and the rest 1% contain other gases such as argon, carbon dioxide, helium, etc. Importance of clean air. Just like we need to drink clean water and we need hygienic, clean, healthy food, similarly, we also need clean air to breathe. Because if we breathe air, if we are exposed to air that is filled with pollutants, then that can cause damage to our respiratory system and can result in various diseases such as asthma, such as bronchitis, such as it can even go to extremes such as lung cancer. All right, so it is very important that we have clean air to breathe, because it will the unhealthy air or the pollutant, the air pollutants that are present in the air, polluted air, that is going to damage our respiratory system. So the importance of clean air is established. That similarly, in the way that we cannot live without clean hygienic food or clean water, clean air is also a necessity. Okay, and we cannot compromise with the quality of air. The differences in the amount of smoke in the atmosphere, they vary from place to place. For example, if you're living, say, in the countryside or in the hilly areas, there you would encounter lesser toxic pollutants, all right, because the chemical power plants, or also you can say that the pollutants that exist out of the exhausts of vehicles, automobiles, they are lesser as in compared to the hilly areas or the countrysides, means the rural areas, the villages. All right, but when you enter the urban cities, you will be encountering more of air pollution, because here you have smoke coming out of chimneys, smoke coming out of industries, okay, and also automobiles, etc. Also, the smoke that comes out of cigarettes, all right, and other additives like that. So, okay, they are also very harmful, not just for the person who is using them, who is smoking them, but also for the person that is surrounding them. All right. So, do you know where the smoke would have come from? The smoke would have come from cigarettes, the smoke would have come from automobiles, the smoke would have come from industrial power plants, etc. So, there are a lot of sources of air pollution, and these sources are not only limited to the man-made, but it is also limited to some natural sources. All right, and we'll be having a look at them as well. So when air is contaminated by unwanted substances or undesirable substances, and often these unwanted and undesirable substances, they damage our health, not just our health, but plants and other organisms' health as well. Okay, so they have a harmful effect on both living as well as non-living. What are the causes that air pollution has on the non-living items. We'll be having a look at that as well. But for now, let's understand, and I think that is already established here, till here, and you know it very well, that air pollution, the harmful toxic elements that are present in air, they cause a lot of damage to the living organisms, be it us humans, be it other animals, and even be it plants, and not just the ones living on land, but also the ones living in water. Okay, and that the presence of these unwanted, undesirable, harmful substances, they are referred to as air pollution. Many respiratory problems are caused by air pollution, such as asthma, okay, such as bronchitis, all right, and even extremes of pulmonary, means lung related infection, such as lung cancer. All right. Now, when you talk about air pollutants, you have two kind of sources. One are your natural sources and the other one is your man-made sources. So natural sources could include those areas where or those sources from which you get air pollutants, all right, that are not man-made but actually they exist in nature. And the man-made resources, the man-made sources, as the name suggests, it consists of those sources of air pollution where the pollutants, they are coming out of say chimneys or automobiles or any other such, any other such areas which are man-made, which are artificial, which do not exist in nature freely. Okay, so the natural sources, there are two types of natural sources: forest fires or volcanic eruptions. So when a volcano, it erupts, that's a natural phenomenon that is not caused by any human or man-made activity, right? So during volcanic eruptions, there are a lot of oxides, sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides. So there are a lot of harmful oxides of various other elements, okay, that are directly the cause of air pollution. And as well as forest fires, you have learned in the previous chapter that how forest fire occur. The spontaneous burning of dry grasses leading to a chain reaction of the combustion of other nearby vegetation as well. That is forest fire, and forest fire also results in a huge amount of in the liberation of huge amount of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other harmful air pollutants. And the man-made sources, you're familiar with the man-made sources, be it from automobiles, be it from some industrial power plants, be it from the chimney, sometimes even from your home, okay, and from smoking as well. All right. So these are the man-made sources of air pollution, and other sources such as burning of firewood and cow dung cake. So these are taken very very lightly, right? When you may have come across certain areas where there is an incineration of garbage. Incineration means burning, okay? Incineration means the burning of waste, all right? So that burning of waste, that may seem to you that, oh, it's harmless, but actually no, it is very very harmful, because the burning of those waste, especially non biodegradable waste, the burning of non biodegradable waste leads to an immersion and expulsion of various air pollutants, and those air pollutants, they directly harm our respiratory system. Okay, so not just the factories, power plants, and automobile exhausts, but burning firewoods as well. Just the the result of burning firewood is, of course, the carbon dioxide gas is emitted and carbon monoxide gas is emitted. And you had seen it in the previous chapter that you don't and you should not actually sleep in a room where some coal embers or some coal ashes are still burning, because coal leads to the production of carbon monoxide. And it was established earlier that carbon monoxide is a very very poisonous gas. All right, so oxides of carbon, oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, and various other complex chemical compounds that are harmful for respiratory health. They are the major air pollutants, and the man-made sources are the ones listed here. Find out the substances or pollutants which are present in the polluted air. So I have already answered this, but I'll be repeating this to you. The substances or pollutants which are present in the polluted air, they are oxides, mainly oxides of elements such as oxides of carbon, okay, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxides. They are oxides of nitrogen, they are oxides of sulfur, okay, and they are very very harmful for our, they're very very harmful for our respiratory health, not just for our respiratory health, but they also cause harm to plants. They also harm, they also cause harm to other animals, other living organisms, and as well as non-living things. How do they cause harm to non-living things? We'll be seeing here in the another part of this chapter, but for here let's understand the substances or the major pollutants, and these are the major ones. And apart from the oxides, you also have other compounds such as methane, okay, such as ozone. Ozone is a gas that is present in the uppermost part of the atmosphere that protects us from the harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun. But when this ozone comes to the ground layer, or when this ozone comes to the troposphere, the lowermost part of the atmosphere, all right, that lowermost part of the atmosphere through which we inhale air, through which we inhale oxygen and other substances that are present in the air, then this can cause damage, because ozone gas is very poisonous for us. Okay, you know that carbon monoxide is a poisonous gas. This again had already been discussed with you in the previous chapter, so you might want to take advantage of that learning. You know that the major source of carbon monoxide is coal. When you burn coal, you directly get huge amounts of carbon monoxide gas, and you know that this is a poisonous gas. This is a poisonous gas because when you inhale a lot of carbon monoxide, it reduces the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. Okay, so there is a substance in the blood known as the hemoglobin, all right, and that helps in, that basically attaches itself to the oxygen molecules, and it helps in the transport of oxygen throughout our body, all right. So naturally, when there will be more of carbon monoxide in our system than oxygen, so it's going to hinder, or whatever oxygen was supposed to be carried by the hemoglobin, it's going to stop it, it's going to hinder it, all right. It's coming up as a major obstacle, and therefore it will lead to an oxygen scarcity in our system, and that may lead to our death in extreme cases as well. Okay, so vehicles produce high levels of pollutants like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and smoke. And the other source of carbon monoxide is the incomplete combustion of fuels such as petrol and diesel. Okay, so I had told you in the previous chapter, combustion and flame, that there is a complete combustion of carbon and there is an incomplete combustion of carbon. So the complete combustion of carbon releases often less pollutants. They are still pollutants, but they are less harmful as compared to the ones which are emitted when there is an incomplete combustion of carbon. Alright, the unburnt carbon particles, and the unburnt carbon particles often carry carbon monoxide, which is a very harmful gas for us, and it can be again released from automobiles, because in automobiles there is not always complete combustion. There can be incomplete combustion of fuels such as petrol, burning of fuels such as petrol and diesel. Do you know that, this is a fun fact for you, the vehicles registered in Delhi, they are made to queue up in one line. Okay, the total length would be nearly equal to the combined lengths of two longest rivers in the world, that is Nile and Amazon. So the the air pollution in Delhi is always highlighted in news channels or in newspapers. So it's because the one of the biggest factors of air pollution in Delhi is also because of automobiles, right? The harmful air pollutants that exist out of emits out of the automobiles, right? That are emitted out of the automobiles. So it is an interesting fact over here that if the vehicles registered in Delhi, they are made to line up, then the total length would be greater than the length of Nile and Amazon River combined. What is smog? You must have heard of this word smog, often in winter times. All right. So smog is a combination. It's an air pollutant, and it's a combination of two types of substances. One is smoke, and the other is fog. So smoke, is your visible air pollutant. You see smoke coming out of chimneys. You see smoke coming out of automobiles, and this smoke, you are aware that it carries harmful pollutants. All right. And what is fog? Fog is that mist like vapor, visible again, that is formed during the winter time. It consists mostly of water vapor that get, you know, condensed out in the colder temperature of winter, or in the colder environment during the winter season. Okay, so when there is a lot of smoke coming out of automobiles, or coming out of power plants, and that smoke, when it mixes up with the fog present in our atmosphere, the resultant is known as smog. Okay, and definitely smog is not it's not a hygienic or healthy phenomenon, rather it's a very harmful occurrence. And since you know that smoke is visibly, you can perceive it visibly, and so you can also visibly perceive fog. It's the same for fog as well. So the mixture of smoke and fog, smog, is also visibly perceivable, and it's so thick that it can cause a lot of damage. Okay, damage to what? Damage to the drivers who are driving the vehicles, because it hinders them to see the other vehicles that are coming in front of them. So it basically, it's an obstacle to traffic. Okay, so during winter season, it's a made up of smoke and fog. And smoke, you know, it contains harmful pollutants, so it may contain oxides of nitrogen, which combine with other air pollutants, and fog to give smog. The smog, sorry, it causes breathing difficulties such as asthma, cough, and wheezing in children. The other harmful effect of smog is that it creates an obstacle in traffic because it hinders our vision. Okay, it hinders vision. All right, and definitely the constituents of smog is smoke, and smoke contains harmful pollutants. So it is very natural that a very prolonged exposure to smog is going to affect your respiratory system. And it's obviously young children, they are more vulnerable because they do not have that built up immunity to prevent themselves from a lot of diseases, right? So they are very susceptible to cough, wheezing, and often asthma. Okay, so this is the difference you can see here between fog and smog. And again, this is a picture of Delhi. All right, and so fog, obviously the fog also hinders our vision, but it's not so thick. The layer of fog is not so thick. But if you see smog over here, the building Rashtrapati Bhavan or the India Gate, that is not visible to us. Okay, it is more dangerous. Smog is more dangerous than fog, because of course it is the combination of smoke and fog. Okay. Causes of air pollution. We have seen that burning of fossil fuels results in the emission of harmful gases that cause air pollution. Then transportation, because automobiles, vehicles, the exhaust from these vehicles, they also emit harmful gases. Wildfires, the forest wildfires, this is a natural source of air pollution. Okay. Open burning of garbage waste, the one which I referred to as incineration. All right, I have also told you that this is another cause, because it may seem harmless at first, but it's not, because it results in the emission of a lot of harmful gases. Agricultural activities, again, because there are certain crops that go bad, and instead of disposing them in compost pit, okay, some farmers, they tend to burn them, they tend to incinerate them, and burning them is again going to lead to the emission of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other harmful pollutants. The use of chemical and synthetic products also leads to air pollution, because it also results to an emission of a mixture of gases, and often these mixture of gases, they are harmful for our health. Industrial emissions, the power plants, okay, it's very obvious that the chimneys from the power plants, they release harmful toxic pollutants. And deforestation, because the more you cut down trees, the more you are reducing the capability or the capacity of the trees to consume of carbon dioxide from our atmosphere. All right, because trees, they consume carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. So the more trees you cut down, the more you are increasing the chances of an increase in the amount of carbon dioxide all around us. So deforestation is another cause of air pollution. Then there is another pollutant known as chlorofluorocarbons, and this is used as a solvent in refrigerators, in air conditioners, and aerosol sprays. Okay, what does this chlorofluorocarbon do? Does it depletes the ozone layer of the atmosphere. I told you that ozone layer is present in the uppermost part of the atmosphere, and it protects us from the harmful radiation, the UV radiation of the sun. So it is because of this ozone layer that when you go out in the sun, you do not get skin cancer, or you're not getting so affected by the harmful radiation of the sun. All right, but this CFC, this chlorofluorocarbons, now because once that there was a manufacturer of refrigerator, air conditioner, we know that we humans did not stop. All right, there almost every other house has a refrigerator, if not an air conditioner, and of course aerosol sprays or solvents, etc. All of us use, right? So chlorofluorocarbons, it damage the ozone layer of the atmosphere, leading to an ozone depletion, which we also call as an ozone hole, okay, or the hole in the ozone, okay. So this is because the ozone is layer is it's at the uppermost layer or in the atmosphere, and it's like a sort of a blanket, right? And this CFC, since it is helping in the depletion of ozone, it is aiding the depletion of ozone. So a sort of a hole is formed in that blanket, in that layer of the atmosphere. All right, and therefore making us more and more vulnerable to the ultraviolet, the harmful ultraviolet radiation of the sun. Okay, here you can see that this is an atmosphere and this is the ozone layer. So you can see that it is almost like you can imagine as a blanket or as a covering that is, you know, at the topmost part of the atmosphere. And here, if you may observe, the CFC, what they do is that they cause the depletion of ozone. Okay, so they are basically increasing in they're basically aiding to the increase in that hole, all right, in that depletion, so that once this layer of ozone here now is depleted, the harmful radiation of the sun, you can see here in this picture, it is able to enter our atmosphere and again harm us. All right, so ozone hole is nothing but the depletion of the ozone layer, okay, and it is because of the CFC and other pollutants like that deplete the ozone, often forming a hole. All right, and through this hole, the ultraviolet radiation is free to come and harm us. All right. Now, there are tiny suspended particles in the atmosphere as well, and we call them as the particulate matter. All right. So, apart, or you can say that besides the oxides of nitrogen, oxides of carbon, oxides of sulfur, CFC, ozone, etc., the ground level ozone. So, there are other particles in the air that are suspended, means they are freely available in the atmosphere. They and when you inhale them, you are inhaling them as these tiny particles as these tiny particles only. So they are not exactly in the gaseous state, rather they are tiny solid substances that are suspended, freely suspended in the gaseous molecules of the air of our atmosphere. And when you inhale them, you are inhaling them as these small tiny particles. We also call them particulate matter, not particular, I'm sorry, particulate matter. Okay, and often the sources are automobiles which burn petrol and diesel. The incomplete combustion of petrol and diesel also leads to the emission of these particulate matter, which are the tiny particles that are suspended in the gaseous air. They reduce visibility, and of course when you inhale them, these particles are going to destruct, or these particles are going to perforate, means they are going to cause tiny formation of pores inside your the outer covering of your lungs. All right, and they hence they will cause diseases. Such particles are also produced during industrial processes like steel making and mining. All right, so whatever industrial processes they are going on, okay, that and automobiles, these are the major cause of air pollution, and these emit harmful toxic air pollutants, not just in the gaseous form but also in these suspended form, in the solid suspended form, these particulate matter. All right, and they are indeed very harmful for us. So here in the first part you learned what is air pollution mainly. You went over some concepts which you already know. I hope you must be knowing all of these already, but you know, we are delving a deep into the topic of pollution, right? In the next part, we'll be having a look at acid rain.